Hello, check. Can you hear me meow? Meow.
Hey all, welcome back to Tap Tempo with me, Matt Lang. Just want to say thank you to everyone who tuned in last week and sent in their feedback. It's been really encouraging. This is exciting. It's going to be a really good thing for me personally, and I hope that you get a lot out of it as well. Later this week, on Friday the 21st, I'm in Toronto at Rebel for the 10-year anniversary of Mousetrap with Black Gummy, Monster Get Down, Atlas and myself, Rez, and of course Dead Mouse. So if you're in Toronto, you should go check that out. And then next Saturday, I'm playing here in LA at Sound, and that should be fun. I haven't been there in a couple years, so that should be a good time. This week, I've got Bright Lights on the show, otherwise known as Heather Bright. You've most likely heard her music before, but if you haven't, you've definitely heard her writing before. Heather is a multi-Grammy-nominated singer-songwriter. She's written for pop stars such as Justin Bieber, Britney Spears, and Usher, and she's also been featured as the lead on some of the EDM guys like Porter Robinson, Hardwell, and Zedd. She's got a really amazing story of how she's gotten to be where she is today, from going from being a songwriter to now her own solo artist career. She's quite frankly one of the most talented people I've ever been in a room with. It's like that Wayne's World thing, we're not worthy. Yeah, she's that good. It's just magic. So I'm really excited she's here. She embodies pretty much everything, all the glories to all the struggles of being a true artist. Her next single is called $1 Billion Love. It's out on her own label, 333 Recordings, and it should be out on August 4th. And here's me sitting down and having a beer with Bright Lights. I'm sitting here with Bright Lights, also known as Heather Bright to her family. Heather and I have been close friends for probably 3-4 years. We met out here in LA. And it's my pleasure that she happened to just hit me up to play some guitar on one of her records. Aww. And the timing worked out.
It was my pleasure.
It was my pleasure.
Trust me, darling. It was my pleasure.
So, in the spirit of the context of the show, we are having a beer right now.
Absolutely.
And what we are drinking, clink, it is a Stone Pilot IPA called the Victoria's Secret. So, speaking of... Now we have our beer, we have our microphones.
Mm-hmm. Talk to me.
All right. You're from South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Baby Heather Bright.
Baby.
When she was a musician, how'd she start?
I was just talking about, actually, to a friend of mine today about the best gift that I ever received. And I was thinking about this maybe like a month ago, and I thought, what's the best gift I ever got? And when I was 5 years old for Christmas, my parents got me a Casio keyboard. And that's the best gift I ever got because that was really the beginning of like me being a musician and really falling in love with music. I was on stage before 5, singing, but just to really learn music. And I learned it by ear. So I didn't know any theory until Berklee, which is something else that we have in common, you and I.
We sure do.
So I didn't learn theory until way later in life, but I learned to play by ear, and that was my keyboard.
Did you ever play in like a school band or
I did.
chorus?
I played trumpet for 8 years.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I would totally pull out trumpet one day
really?
at a show, for sure.
You should pull that out.
For sure.
Absolutely. But
I just have to get my lips back in shape because when you stop playing, it's all about having your lips in shape. So if anyone would love to help me get my lips back in shape, please call 1-888-3331. 369-369. I forgot my number. Oh, it's 888-369-3331. Call me.
Then how'd you make it to Berklee?
Well, I had a full ride at a really nice school called Furman in South Carolina.
Cool.
And it was an academic scholarship. Everything was paid for, and I was a pre-med student. And I always just thought I would be a doctor. I wanted to be either a trauma surgeon or I wanted to be a genetics counselor. And I still love medicine. Like it's something that really intrigues me and I love to learn about it. But when I produced my first record, the first record I ever recorded and made on, what was it, ADAT?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was on ADAT. And I just thought, wow, if I could make a living doing this, I'd rather do this. And so, yeah, I gave up my full ride and I moved to Boston and enrolled in Berklee, where I went from, getting paid $40K a year to go to school to then paying $40K. Like, everybody thought I was crazy. Yeah. They were, my parents especially, I know they were like...
Berklee's even more expensive now.
I bet.
Frighteningly so.
I bet. I mean, I'm still paying for it now. Yeah, it sucks. But I don't regret going. I mean, I was telling you earlier, the things that I really got out of Berklee were theory, learning how to play with a band. Yeah. You could put me on any stage anywhere in the world and I would be able to communicate and speak the language to where we could just play something.
Right.
And I got that from Berklee. I also got more ear training from Berklee, being able to recognize certain chords and things like that. And the music business knowledge, like knowing what publishing was and royalties and mechanicals and all that kind of stuff.
You were a business major at Berklee.
I was, yeah. And you know how you have to have an instrument at Berklee?
Right.
So I never graduated Berklee because I think I was 13 credits shy of graduating. And I only took one vocal class and I quit 3 classes in. They were like, no, you need to sing more like this. And I was like, well, fuck you guys. I'm not doing this. Like, I'm going to sing how I sing. And so you could get over it. They were steering me very jazz, like making me go very like classical, more woo. Like, I'm
that is what they do.
We not finna... You trying to take the swag out of my voice? Like, where I'm not having it.
Oh, I used to get in fights with my counterpoint teacher.
Oh, yeah?
Because, they have you do, Bach and Beethoven and all the very traditionalist, very mathematical music. Mm-hmm. And I loathed it to, be honest. I just hated it. So, she'd give us a melody and we had to write some kind of counterpuntal melody to it. And mine would always be filled with tensions and fourths and fifths, which you're never supposed to do.
Oh, yeah.
It's always parallel thirds
Absolutely.
and everything like that. And it's the most boring fucking thing ever.
Uh-huh.
So,
My counterpoint teacher was huffing the markers. So my counterpoint class was pretty intense. I remember the first time we stepped in class, they pass out the syllabus, like what you're going to be studying.
Sure.
This is the first time I'm seeing this guy, and he's like, all right, class. I was like, wait, what? And then he just starts writing on the board and just going off on some crazy tangent. And I was like, so we're doing nothing in this class, basically. I didn't learn anything in that class.
Well, it's like that saying, what was it? No one does more drugs than Berklee students, except for Berklee teachers.
Berklee teachers. Yes.
There's a certain truth to that.
So true.
A little dirty secret.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you leave Berklee, graduate music business. Mm-hmm. What next?
What next? I moved. Well, I didn't graduate Berklee.
That's right. You dropped out.
I just left. So I did that. I did a reality show with Missy Elliott. I was terribly managed at the time, and my manager convinced me that it was a great idea to go on this Missy Elliott competition show. I was rapping at the time. I've done every genre you could possibly think. I've done harder rock. I've done pop. I've done hip hop. I've done. I mean, so many. I'm just thinking of all the bands that I was in and all the different kinds of music that I made. Yeah. So at that time, I was rapping. I went for an audition for the Missy Elliott thing, and I got the call back, came back. They said, you're on the show. I was one of 2 contestants who had their contract negotiated. So the production company did not own my music. So the regular contract said whatever you sing, whatever you rap, any kind of music that you make on this show, we own it.
Right.
And I was one of 2 people in the whole cast that said, hang on, nah. Like, I own my stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I was the first person ousted, and then the second person was the other person who got their contract negotiated. And then I just thought my whole career was over. Like, I remember being so devastated and just thinking like, man, that was my one shot. That's how they make you feel on those shows.
Of course they do.
They make you feel like that's your only shot and you just blew your entire career. And so
that's how they get you too. That's the thing.
Yeah, and I was so young, and I still didn't know
you were
who.
Only like 21 at the time?
Yeah, I was 21, exactly. Yeah. And I still didn't know who I was. I mean, being raised by a pastor and living such a strict life, like not being able to listen to secular music at home and not being able to watch movies over PG. You know, even at 15, 16 years old, I couldn't watch a PG-13 movie.
So did music for you then begin in church services and things like that?
Yeah, gospel. And I mean, I would sneak and listen to a lot of music on the way to school or with my friends. My friends would like pass me.
Yeah.
I remember them passing me TLC, and they didn't know that I didn't hear anything but gospel until I came into school one day, and I was like, yo, y'all heard about this new chick, Mariah Carey? Oh my God. Meanwhile, Mariah was like on her 4th single,
right. She's
and
the
people
biggest
were
thing
like,
in the world.
yeah, people were like, you're just now finding out about her. And so then they started like sneaking me TLC, Crazy Sexy Cool, Boys to Men. I started getting into Destiny's Child. Then I remember hearing Britney Spears. So I was influenced by like a lot of super pop, you know, soul, R&B, but then also a lot of gospel because of my father and being in church a lot. And then I got off of that show and I moved to New York. I didn't know anybody but my roommate at the time.
Right.
So I just moved because I felt like, you know, the saying, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere.
Sure
and
do.
It's so true. Yeah. That's a hard city. That city will beat you down.
It's the best city.
And it is.
It's the best city in the world.
It's my favorite city in the world. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, I love a lot of other cities, but if I had to pick one, New York would be my one.
If I could live in New York with the lifestyle I have in LA.
Absolutely.
In a heartbeat.
I always say that.
I know.
But you live in a closet.
Well, that's the thing. Like, how am I going to have studio space there? Like, I can't have a house in New York.
And you got to fight with the rats.
Well, I fight with ants here, so they're just, bigger
it's
ants.
Not the same.
But they're less of them. Maybe like 4 rats at a time versus like 100 ants.
Oh my God. Have you been in the subways?
I grew up in New York.
Yeah, that's like 20 rats.
I mean, the mole people handle it pretty well.
But yeah, so I moved to New York not really knowing anyone. And that's where I got my start. Yeah. I would cold email, cold call until someone finally paid attention to me.
You were hustling then.
I was.
Really young. Most people don't do that.
My whole career started off of MySpace because I emailed the vice president of A&R at Island Def Jam.
No shit.
Yeah, and I had been cold emailing for 6 months. Yeah. No response from anyone. And finally I get a MySpace message back from the VP of A&R who had just signed Gaga. Mm-hmm. This was before Gaga moved to Interscope.
This is what, like 2007, 2008?
What was it? Maybe a little bit before, like 2006, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, about 2006, maybe 2005. About, 6. So, he had just A&R'd the Avril Lavigne album that did so well. And so for him to respond and say, hey, I actually like the songs that you sent. Why don't you come into my office for a meeting? I was like, no way. Like, I called my best friend at the time. I was like, you not gonna believe this. I'm in. And so I showed up for the meeting. It was supposed to be like an hour meeting. Yeah. And he kept pushing his meetings back. And the meeting ended up lasting almost 4 hours.
No shit.
And at the end of the meeting, he was like, I think there's some people around here who would love to meet you. Would you mind if I introduced you to a couple people? And I was like, yeah, of course. Like, let's do it. So we walked around the whole floor And the first person he introduced me to was David Massey, the president of Island, and who signed Shakira and like so many incredible artists that I just admire.
Right.
And so walking in his office with the fur carpets and the view in the corner office with the leather couches and the suede desk, and like it was nuts. And I just thought, wow. And he took so much time with me and really, listened to my music and said, wow, I think you do have a lot of potential. Then we went over to meet Tata and Jay Brown, Jay-Z's guys. Yeah. This is my first meeting,
I know,
dude.
You must be freaking out.
I'm freaking out. I'm like, is this real life? In that meeting with Tata and Jay Brown, they give me a CD with Stargate beats. Are you kidding? At that time, Stargate was running the show.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah. I mean, all the hits were Stargate at that point. They were just developing Neo's project. The Rihanna stuff was off to the races.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow. So I delivered a couple of records to them and we started working pretty heavy. And then the last stop that we made on the floor was Karen Kwok, L.A. Reid's assistant at the time. And I later met L.A. just in the hallways and in passing several times. But after that first meeting, I would just show up.
Yeah, right.
I would literally every week, I would show up and just pop my head into offices and be like, dude, you got to listen to this new record I made.
Right on.
And then because Island Def Jam was finding out about me, really good writers are hard to find. They're very, very rare. So when one label finds a writer that they love, the other labels will come sniffing around and being like, yo, who's this new blood?
Damn right.
So then Atlantic started calling and we got to get you in here for a meeting. I've been hearing about you. So then, I was meeting Craig Cowman, the president. Yeah. Like I wasn't on some like lower level assistant.
No, you're right there at the top.
I was going right to the top, and this was how I came in.
Right.
And I just thought how lucky I was. I never felt for once, I never took it for granted, and I never felt for once that I was deserving. I felt that I was worthy of being in those rooms and that like I had something real to offer that could potentially generate a lot of money for everyone involved.
Sure. Yeah.
I also knew I had some development to do and I knew I was around the right people. They say surround yourself with people who are better than you and
Always.
You get better.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I did in New York. I just surrounded myself with the right people and people who believed in me. I always wanted to be an artist, but I could never get a deal because I didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
It goes back to that whole thing with my parents not really allowing me to explore me. So I didn't get to listen to the music I wanted to or watch the movies I wanted to or even hang with the people that I wanted to kick it with. Until I was 19 or 20, really. 20 was when I went to Berklee. So I was a late bloomer in terms of knowing who I was. And you can't be a great artist if you don't know who you are.
I think a lot of artists go through their entire lives without knowing who they are.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But
not even artists, people in general.
Yeah, a lot of people. And a lot of artists can be successful, but they're not writing their own records. They're not producing their own records. And if you're really running your project and you are the meat and potatoes of you have to know who you are. And that can evolve and change, but I started writing songs for other people because I thought if I could get my pen game up enough, if I could become one of the best songwriters in the whole business, eventually someone would offer me a deal.
Yeah.
It didn't happen the way that I intended, and it almost never does. Like, you can plan your life all you want.
A plan is just a list of shit that doesn't happen.
Exactly.
Ever. Yeah.
So I eventually had to just leave songwriting. Like, I eventually made the choice to, for all intensive purposes, be happy.
Yep.
I found myself miserable at a certain point because I felt like I had something real to say and something to represent. And I loved helping people. And I don't know. I lost that giving my songs away. Did you know that as a songwriter, you don't even have to sign anything for somebody to put your record out?
Yeah.
That's absurd. Yeah. Do you know how many records just hit the radio and I got a phone call like, oh, I heard your
publisher owns it all. You don't own anything. Yeah.
Well, no, I was owning my records. Okay. I was always co-published. So it wasn't even that. It's the complete disregard for the songwriters. And this is why you're not seeing a lot of great songwriters anymore. And if you do, they're turning into artists.
Well, and there's no money in songwriting really at this point either.
Well, especially with Spotify and stuff.
Mechanicals are gone.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Spotify's taking care of the label and they're taking care of the artist, but the songwriters really get cut out of that deal. Yeah. And the producers aren't suffering that much because they're seeing $25,000, $30,000 advances in the top 40 world. That's a mid-level producer. Mm-hmm. The top producers, you're seeing 50, 60, 75,000. You want to know how much Kanye makes for a beat? It's crazy.
Yeah. Let's not go there because then we're all going to cry.
I mean, it is what it is.
It is. You know? And there has to be someone at that level.
Yeah.
And, to Kanye's credit, back to the thing where you were saying, you got absolutely miserable songwriting. Mm-hmm. I was actually listening to an interview with Josh of Telephone Tel Aviv, mm-hmm. and he quoted Kanye in the most bizarre way. And it was this thing Kanye said where if, I'm paraphrasing here because I don't remember it exactly, but it's something along the lines of, if you don't follow your dream, someone else is going to hire you to follow theirs.
I've seen that, absolutely.
And it's the most painful truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think we've all been through that in some way.
Yeah.
And it's the worst feeling. And you feel like you really are doing something that matters at first until...
Mm-hmm. Well, it was very exciting at first. Yeah. Like my career in the beginning, when I first... I remember making Somebody to Love for I actually made that record for Usher. And it ended up with Bieber, and then it ended up as a duet with Usher and Bieber. And I remember that experience just being so cool because it was new and fresh, and it was me having some success and finally feeling like, wow, like I'm really doing something. But I had no money. And that wasn't important to me. Like, that's not why I make music. But I remember driving down the 101, the first time I ever heard Somebody to Love on the radio. I'm freaking out. This is the first time I've heard my record on the radio. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. Yeah. And my car is breaking down. I swear to God, I had a piece of crap. My managers made so much money in my car. So I'm literally like pulling my car off to the side of the road and the speakers are blaring out my hit. And I'm just like, how is this happening? And the money comes later. Yeah, it's not like there was never any money made, but our songwriters don't see those royalties until a year, 2, 3 years later. That's sometimes. Right. Yeah. So you could have a record on the radio and still be eating ramen as a songwriter.
I'm all too aware of that.
That's crazy, right?
Absolutely.
Like, this business is crazy like that. So, it wasn't about the money for me because towards the end of my songwriting career, I still write songs. If Beyonce called me tomorrow,
for other people.
If Beyonce called me tomorrow and was like, "Hey, I want you to come sit with me and like work on the album," all day, because I'm sitting beside her and we're working. I respect her as an artist and she respects me.
And you worked with her before, right?
I did, yeah.
So was it a full circle moment, growing up listening to Destiny's Child?
Oh, all day. The Usher thing was like that because I remember listening to Usher walking.
My way.
Driving to school, yeah. And I just remember as soon as he cut Somebody to Love and hearing that vocal with my writing, I was just like, I can't believe this is happening. And that's when it was so exciting. Yeah. And when it stopped being fun for me was when it became a rat race. Mm-hmm. And it was like, do this Rihanna writing camp and you show up and there's 15 other writers and 15 other producers and you feel like a cattle call. Mm-hmm. And you're writing, dude, when I was writing professionally, I was writing 5 songs a week. That's not a joke. 5 songs a week. How much inspiration can one person possibly have? And that's what is required of you. That's, that's what the kind of schedule that you're being set up with sessions. So for someone who had been performing since they could talk, being off the stage and in the studio 24/7 was slowly killing me.
Oh my God, that must have been anxiety inducing.
It was.
Yeah.
5 years later, I woke up and I thought, how is it that I have not touched the stage in 5 years? And I was a little bit upset with myself. And that's when I called my friend Dave Renee at Interscope. And I said, man, I'm going crazy. I was like, I feel like I'm successful, but I'm not happy. And I feel like the only way to be happy and be myself is to be an artist and do what I've always done and perform and make records for me, the kind of music I want to make. I don't want a suit telling me what kind of record to make. Mm-hmm. I want to make what I want to make. And I said, dude, send me the craziest beat you have, a beat that you think no one could write to, that radio would never play. Send me something. And he sent me Zed before anyone knew who Zed was.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget this moment. I was in my apartment in Sherman Oaks, and I jumped on top of my coffee table. There was no one else in my apartment. I jumped on top of my coffee table. I was thinking of this yesterday because Zed had tweeted me something and it made me think about his bass line and the bass sound from that track. And I just thought, what is this? Like, oh my God, like this is what I was talking about. This is fresh. This is what I need. And in that moment, I canceled my Rihanna session and I wrote Follow You Down. It's not the same track that
right.
you know
Sure.
with Follow You Down. You know what the track was Zed's remix of Swedish House Mafia, Save the World.
No kidding. Mm-hmm. That's funny.
And it was that track that was sent to me. And I just thought, this is incredible. And I have to continue with this.
Yeah.
And Zed brought me to EDC, the first EDC in Vegas. I didn't know about the dance world. I had no idea that there was a whole culture and that this existed. I always loved dance music when it came up in the mainstream,
Sure.
but I thought it went away. I didn't know there was a whole world that existed beyond what I knew. So when I went to EDC, I had my purple hair, and I remember walking into the first time I stepped foot into EDC and seeing all these colorful costumes and seeing other people with colored hair like mine. And the music was so fresh and new. This was when Swedish House first popped on the scene. This was
like One era?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right around One.
Yeah.
And I just thought, this is my home. It just felt so like, I felt like these are my people, and how could I not know about this? And I felt like somebody had been hiding a secret from me, and I was like mad that I just found out. And so I remember standing on stage. Dave Renee brought me on stage at Swedish House Mafia for the closing of the festival. And I told my friend, I said, next year, I'm going to be on this stage, but I'm going to be performing. And the following year was when I performed with Laid Back Luke on that stage.
There
and
you go.
Oh man, it was full circle to the fullest.
Self-prophecy.
The
right
year
there.
after, I performed with Hardwell. I've done Dash Berlin, Blau at EDC. I mean, the stages that I've gotten to see, that's worth every jump that I took from songwriting. It's worth every, I literally went from making $500,000 a year. These are real numbers to being homeless. I'm not fucking lying. Yeah. Like sleeping in my car and hearing language on the radio and sleeping in my fucking car and thinking I'm happier now.
And it's amazing how quickly the money goes, too.
Oh, my God. It goes as fast as it comes.
It does, and it looks like it's so much, and it's not. Not when you're paying a team,
Not when you're paying
overhead.
taxes and you're in the top tax bracket at $300K.
Yeah.
That's such a low ceiling for the top tax bracket. I'm paying the same tax as billionaires
Yeah.
at $300K. What?
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, man. Money does not make you happy. It won't. No. It won't satisfy you. And I'll never forget that feeling of just like, being in my car and I didn't sleep in there for long. I had a lot of great friends that saved me. I think I moved 5 different times during that period. My friends, couches, floors, all that kind of stuff. And I wrote my way out of homelessness. I was homeless for 3 months. Like, I didn't have my own place for 3 months.
This is what, like 2012, 13?
About 13, yeah. And I felt so ashamed. I remember I would wear a beanie every day to cover as much of my face as I could. I didn't want to see anyone. I was so embarrassed and ashamed that I had gone from, $500,000 songwriter, everyone knows and respects me in that world, to sleeping in my car and trying to figure it all out and developing as an artist, but still trying to figure out who I was, but being happy. Doing it, And I remember thinking, I can write my way out of this. If I write enough records, I can dig myself out of that hole. And that's exactly what I did. And a lot of the records on my new album, or my upcoming album, are songs that I wrote during that time when I was homeless.
Really?
Yeah. And they have stood the test of time.
This is a long gestation period.
My gosh.
4 or 5 year long.
You know what took the longest? It wasn't the songs, because I have 20, 30 records ready to roll out.
You write those quickly, too.
I write songs so fast. But it's the production. What does Bright Light sound like? Because you can do a million features, but when I'm singing Never Say Goodbye, I'm fitting inside Hardwell's box. When I'm singing Follow You Down or Stars Come Out, I'm fitting into Zed's box. But what's my box? What do I sound like? What kind of instrumentations do I use? What kind of even mix styles, sonics, sound design, everything. What is Bright Lights? And that took years. That took about 3 years of developing and trying to produce and being terrible. Being like the worst.
Was it a light bulb moment where you just knew this is my sound? Or did it just slowly...
It slowly came to... I had to come back to production 3 different times. And it's what they say, third time is a charm.
Yeah,
the third time I came back to it, everything sort of made sense. And I took something from everyone that I worked with. I've learned stuff from you that I applied on my album and in my songs.
Awesome.
I've learned stuff from the Stereotypes, who just made Bruno's 24K. I've learned every producer I worked with has been so amazing to me, to have no ego and to really say, you want to learn? Let me teach you something. If you have a question, I'll answer your question.
And I think, talent always appreciates talent.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you are. If you're good at something and you have something that's different and special, people are always going to respond to that, and they want to help you. Because all ships rise with the water.
Yeah.
If everyone's doing great, everyone's going to do even better.
Yeah. You know what I've been doing lately too is trying to play more.
Yeah.
That's the one thing where, as a producer, I find myself limited because I can't play the way that I want to play. So I've just been just trying to get better at piano specifically, and chords and soloing, and also surrounding myself with amazing musicians like yourself, who I can call and say, dude, I hear some guitars and I know what I want, but I can't do it. Can we sit side by side?
Yeah.
And I can kind of say, oh, I love that, or can we try it this way?
Right.
And I think that's the traditional producer.
Yeah.
If you look at Howard Benson, who produces bands, you know.
Yeah, Rick Rubin, old school style.
Yeah, it's like a director of films almost.
Absolutely.
And I found myself to be really good with that. So if the producer that I am, I have great ideas, but without the team that I found, like Nico doing my sound design and people like you coming in and icing the cake with the right guitars, without those people, my production doesn't mean anything. My ideas are just stuck in here because I can't actually do the sound design. But finding those people has been the hardest part, I think. And knowing who to call for what.
Yeah.
Because what we were talking about earlier, laughing about triumphantly moody.
Yeah.
you're like, you want triumphant, you called the wrong guy.
Yeah.
And we were joking, but it's true. Like, you have to know who to call for what you hear in your head if you need something done. Production wise. So all of that has just been like a huge learning experience. I'm still learning. I never stop learning. That's when I get bored.
Yeah.
That's why I got bored as a songwriter.
Yeah.
Because songwriting never changes.
You peaked.
Think about it. Songwriting never changes. I love you. I miss you. You should be mine. There are 12 notes in a chromatic scale. How many possible melody patterns do we have?
Yep.
A lot of the chords are the same in pop music. So it's just like, I started getting bored writing 5 songs a week of like, I'm not learning anything new. I'm just doing the same thing over and over. And production and performing allowed me to feel satisfied and to keep learning and to be excited, to wake up excited every day. I'll always love to write. And that's my number one.
Yeah, but it's so much better to write for yourself.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's 100 times better.
I mean, there's something to say about having a huge artist record your record. If I had Rihanna's next single, let's say, I mean, that's a proud moment. That's a moment of like, I wrote that song and the whole world loves it. And I touched people through my music with this person. But that is not enough for me personally.
No, well, in a way, when that happens, that's just a validation of your talent.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But it doesn't really have anything to do with you.
Yeah.
They recognize that you're a great writer and you wrote the song that they're going to perform for millions upon millions of people. Mm-hmm. But you're not the person.
Yeah.
They're not looking at you. They don't even know you wrote it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so in a way, it's amazing, but it's almost kind of soul crushing.
Yeah,
also,
yeah.
It's
worse. It's even worse when you see the artist get in front of the press and say, when I wrote,
oh my God,
fill in the blank.
That is the
I'm
worst.
like, is this a joke right now? Not only did I not have to sign off on this shit, but now, like, I didn't even write it.
Oh, I can't tell you how many times I've been discredited publicly in front of people when I've been standing next to someone I worked with. Like Pixar executives, because we're doing a short film, and suddenly I'm the assistant who, watches the kid.
Yeah. You know what I'm so against is ghost producing.
It's the worst.
I'm so against it. And when I say ghost producing, I don't mean you didn't make the title credits. Not everybody is going to make the title credits.
But
I'm talking about liner credits.
But here's the issue with that. Now that everything's Spotify, where do you see liner credits?
They should put liner credits
You're right, they
in
should,
Spotify.
But
why?
Why won't they? Because it doesn't benefit them at all. It benefits us, but they don't care about us.
But here's the thing too. Here's the real deal. Even if you have a ghost producer, the music business knows. They know.
Sure do.
They will find out, and everybody knows who really made it. I mean, a year ago, I remember standing in the club and somebody came up to me and said, "Hi, it's so nice to meet you. I produced," not going to say the name of the song, but one of my biggest songs. And I thought, are you fucking kidding me? Wait, who? Who is this guy? And I'm turning around and I'm looking at my management and I'm looking at these other guys.
Yeah.
My management at the time. And I'm looking at these other guys and everyone's just looking at me and shaking their head. And one guy's like head face down to the floor. And I'm just realizing this. Like never. It's like you are not the father.
No.
I felt like I was on Maury Povich or some shit. You are not the father. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Wait, what? For real, dude.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's like I felt like I was just on this like tilt-a-whirl of like, wait, hang on, what's happening? So, I mean, that whole ghost producer situation is just, to me, it's not okay. And it's refreshing when I meet another producer, and I have met so many of them who are against it as well.
Yeah.
And are like, no, that person stays in the credits, and this is how we're doing it. And if my name is on something, it's because I truly did make a part of it or a piece of it. And, you know, I was there from the beginning and I was there in the end. And I don't know, that's just a different level of respect, you know. There are some people who are great businessmen, and then there are some people who are great artists, and that doesn't always go hand in hand.
No. There are a few exceptions, though.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
But like Trent Reznor, Dr. Dre. I mean, it's funny, like look at like the Beats music crew now.
Yeah.
They were pretty shrewd about the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Worked out well, though.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But all right. So after you left the songwriting thing, you move into EDM.
Yep.
And found your calling, so to speak, or you found a comfortable zone, really,
Yeah.
where you felt a part of something.
Yeah, I was doing a lot of features, and I felt, you know, like I was finally getting somewhere, and I was at a place where my voice could be heard.
Yeah.
So
sure.
it wasn't just me writing, it was me singing now.
You were featured.
Yeah.
You were the voice.
Yeah. So that, in a way, I felt like I could do something with that. I felt like I could go somewhere with that. And, yeah, I just started doing features and working with all these DJs and learning so much from all these different DJs and really loving like the culture of it and what it stood for and like the peace, love, unity, respect. I know it's, you know, some people consider it cheesy, but like that's really like life for me, you know, is like I've always been respectful. I've always been about love. I've always been about peace. You know, like all this shooting going on, all these wars, all this, what on earth? Why? You know, so the whole concept and the culture behind it, that was me.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's why it worked. And eventually I knew that I had to break off and do my own thing and have my own voice. And that's kind of where I am now.
Right.
Yeah.
When do you think, I guess your not debut album, but, you know, I guess the next iteration of you.
It's hard to say when the album could come out. I mean, I have 2 albums written.
Right.
But they're not like mixed and mastered and ready to go. So you want to have some success with singles before you really roll with an album, just because it's sort of pointless. Like, who's going to hear the album and how are they going to hear it? Unfortunately, it's a singles world. You know, and that's how you get attention.
Right.
So I think, you know, 4 singles later, I think we can launch an album and it'll be incredible. The next single I think is going to be out in March. That's what we're shooting for.
That's that's soon.
I haven't released anything in over a year.
Yeah, that's a while.
It's been a long time.
That's a long time. Yeah.
So my goal is to release 4 features and 4 originals this year.
Awesome.
So 8 records total.
And then when you do the album, going to be digital only? You're going to do vinyl?
Oh, I would love to do vinyl. Absolutely.
It's so worth it.
Yeah.
It make the statement of it.
The collector's edition.
Well, it gives a permanence to your art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like looking at, you know, your graphic design on 12 inches looks so much better than just the little, you know, 500 by 500 pixel square you get on Spotify or iTunes or whatever. Mm-hmm. Do it.
Yeah.
I think the first time I held ephemera on vinyl in my hands, it was like,
oh, wow, yeah.
Oh, my God. It was a mind-blowing moment.
You've made a couple of albums. How many albums have you made?
Of my own?
Yeah, of your own.
Only officially 2.5.
Two and an EP?
Well,
two
I want to
LPs
say
and
half
an EP?
because Patchwork, which came out last April or something, 7 tracks, but it was an hour long. So that is it's longer than most people's albums, but in my mind, it's not an album because also it wasn't written as an album.
Well, your tracks can be like 7 minutes long.
And that's the thing. I mean, those like half of it was club tracks, and for like DJing, I want longer tracks because it gives me a lot more wiggle room when I'm DJing.
Yeah.
But I mean, that obviously was going to be a dance EP, and then I went through,
And then you've made so many albums for other people.
Yeah. And
like that, I mean, just that alone is such an accomplishment coming from, from my perspective where I've tried to make albums. It's not easy to make a body of work, like a cohesive body of work.
I think, that's definitely where doing albums for other people helps a lot, just because you're accountable for somebody else.
Yeah.
It's really easy to be complacent when it's just you. But when there's someone else breathing down your neck and
pushing you,
their record label and their management and their lawyers.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's high pressure.
Yeah.
And so you just do it because you have to. And you learn so much in the process.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Like, I'm figuring out how to do the next one right now. And I think the idea I've been tossing around, I want to do essentially an EP every quarter. And
that's cool.
Well, I think just, because let's not kid ourselves, like attention span is a lot shorter now. And you can't just disappear for a year. I mean, you can, and you can always come back.
Yeah.
But I do want to have a certain...
It's difficult, though.
Yeah, and I want to have a certain level of engagement with fans and everything like that. And I'm trying to be more transparent, hence, this, for example.
Yeah. I think you can take a break, a real break, when you are developing.
Yeah.
When you're trying to create something new and different and go like somewhere really special and otherworldly from what you've been doing, which is kind of why I had to take a year break.
Yeah.
It wasn't that I wasn't doing anything. I work every day. I'm a workaholic.
Yeah, me too.
But it was literally every day developing, falling flat on my face and producing it the wrong way and learning how to make it the right way. And what me and you meeting up at the Federal and me playing you Human Again, the original version.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I say the original version. It was actually the second version.
Version 62.
Exactly. And me being like, I can't figure out what's wrong with this thing. Why is the drop not popping? Like, it's good, but why is it not great?
Yeah.
And you're like, it's because you have to break it down before you build, and then and I'm just like, why didn't I know that?
Well, it's so simple.
It's so simple.
But it's so simple why you don't see it, because when it's your own work, you're so self-absorbed and
and you know what
my
main issue as a producer has always been when something's not right or it doesn't fit or it doesn't work. I think we need to add this. We need to add, let's try to add that.
It's always taking away.
Always. Take it out or replace something.
Yeah.
Either delete or replace.
Yep.
And that was such a hard lesson for me to learn. Even when I knew that, I was still adding.
I still do it all the time, even though I know I shouldn't.
Yeah, because I didn't know what to replace or I didn't know what to delete and why is this not working. And then another one of my faults as a producer has been making things rhythmic enough for what I do, for what the sound that I'm going for and what I'm doing. It's always... we got to make it more rhythmic. It's not danceable enough. It's not this. And I know that's a very common thing, but you also have to remember I'm pop at the end of the day. I grew up like, it's soul pop, and I'm radio. That's just me. And it might not be the coolest thing in the world, but that's literally who I am.
It's you.
Yeah. When I make a hit, like when I write something that is like a worldwide, just if when you write a hit, you can feel it. And that feeling is like crack. That feeling is equal to stepping on stage in front of 80,000 people. It feels the same.
Yep.
So I don't think I could ever get away from writing hits because it's just what I love. And it's just, the feeling is so good.
And why would you ever stop?
Yeah. And regardless of, even if nobody hears it, the feeling that I got when I wrote it was worth the writing of it. And you'd be surprised. There are records that get snatched up that I wrote 6 years ago that another artist will be like, oh my God, this is perfect for that artist.
Sure.
And I'm like, oh my God, I wrote that 6 years ago.
It's a nice little surprise.
There are hundreds of records in the catalog.
Oh, I'm sure. If you're doing a song a day for, how many years in a row?
Yeah. It's always fun to go back and go through the back catalog because you'll find little gems in there.
Oh, yeah.
That you're like, oh, I forgot it. Why did we not do something with that?
Well, it's funny, too. I mean, sometimes when you're under the gun and you're writing things really unemotionally, in a way, I mean, there's a certain emotional connection to it. But it's because you're forced and your back's up against the wall. You just have to do it. So you don't waste any time. You just keep moving forward. And there is a certain beauty that comes out of that because you're just untethered. You just have to write and you do it and you don't overthink what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean,
you can't overthink it. My best records, my biggest and best records were all written in about 45 minutes.
That's insane.
Just like, and I typically don't write anything down. So I usually just put the headphones on and whatever comes out. And that's the magic. So I might go back and edit it. But whatever that initial feeling was, whatever came out when I first heard the track, when I first started singing, that's the magic. And sometimes you can edit it too much.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I edit everything too much.
But as a producer, you have to capitalize on your inspiration as fast as you can because it doesn't last very long. That spark, that oh my God, that magical part happens in the first hour to 2 hours.
Oh yeah.
And after that,
then it's work.
Yeah, after that, it's work, like a lot of work, especially as a producer. I remember being a writer and being so mad when producers would get like their $25,000 upfront fee and I wouldn't get anything. And I would be like, this is crap. Why don't I get paid? And then I started producing and I was like, oh.
That's why.
This is like days, months. It could be a year. Dark Child, Rodney Jerkins told me he worked on Deja Vu for Beyonce for over a year.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, it's amazing as a songwriter. You can crank out a song a day. As a producer, no.
No way.
No, you are spending a lot of time on that.
Yeah.
And especially if it's going to be a top 40 thing and there are a lot of cooks in the kitchen, a lot of writers, record label, etc.
And it's why producers run the business. Yeah. Producers literally are the power players of the entire business. I mean, artists are valued.
We're the kitchen.
Exactly.
We're the chefs and the kitchen. And everyone else is ultimately just a different ingredient.
Absolutely.
But
yeah.
And it's a lot of power, but it's
a lot of responsibility too.
Thanks, Yoda.
Yeah.
So when you are stuck, you're not feeling the inspiration or you have to write something new, what do you do to push forward to that? Do you have any techniques? Do you just force yourself?
Like if I have writer's block?
Yeah.
Oh, writer's block is the worst.
Yeah, so how do you fight that?
It's the worst. Facebook. No, Facebook is not going to cure my writer's block, unfortunately.
Oh my God, this will change your life.
What?
I got this Google plugin for Chrome called Facebook News Eradicator. You have to see this shit. So since we're sitting at the computer, if I go here to...
are we live feeding on Facebook right now? As we're live feeding.
As we're live feeding. So if I go to Facebook right now and I click newsfeed, it is gone. It has just been replaced by some silly inspirational quote.
No.
Yeah, I don't have a newsfeed.
Oh, wow. My mom... It's
amazing.
My mom just cut her newsfeed to only family.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the political posts got too much for her.
Yeah, no
She
kidding.
couldn't handle it.
Oh, and is she... are they all back in South Carolina?
Uh-huh, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's harsh. Oh, man.
Yeah.
How do you feel it in Vegas? Do you?
Yeah, I do actually. When the elections were happening, there was this guy sitting right beside me. I was at a sushi bar, and I was for sure Hillary was going to win. Like, how could Trump possibly
we all
win?
thought that.
How could he possibly? And then I'm seeing the stats come in, and I'm like, is this for real? I think the TV is broken or something. Maybe we need to restart it.
Yeah.
And the guy beside me is going nuts. He's with his date, and they are just celebrating. And I'm just like, wait, what? And I was just so confused. And like, how is this happening? And I just don't understand it, you know? I feel like it's just like the hate that is going on in this world. It makes me so sad.
Yeah, it's really heartbreaking.
It makes me very, very sad. And I feel like that only proliferated it. You know, it only made it worse.
It real.
Yeah.
It made it really real.
Yeah.
And I was with two friends just up the street at the Highland Park Brewery, and there was a whole crowd in there during election night, and everyone just keeps ordering beer after beer after beer because every time a new state folds, it's just this overwhelming sigh of, across the entire bar.
Yeah. I mean, and no matter what side you're on, like even if you voted for Trump, you know, it's just like, what's going on with the world, period? Like, why are people being shot left and right? I swear to God, I told you about the gunman thing on the way from Vegas. I drove from Vegas to LA on this particular trip. I fly a lot, but this time I drove. Yeah. It took me 7 hours because they shut down the I-15 and the 40 because there was a gunman shooting on the interstate. An officer died. I'm driving by. The helicopter is like landing. I'm assuming to like pick up his body. It was like a medical helicopter. And I just got so sad. Like, what the world that we're living in? I feel like, why is there so much hate? Because I have so much love. So why is there so much hate?
Well, isn't it always fear?
Yeah, it is fear. Absolutely. It is fear. You're right.
If you go all the way back down to, you know,
and it doesn't take
religious wars and everything like that, it's all fear of somebody else.
And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to discover that it's the end of times. You know, like global warming, the apocalypse is not far from us.
I mean, I think the apocalypse we could create, or we are in the process of creating.
I feel like
we can stop it.
No, I don't feel like it can be stopped because of human nature.
That's a different story.
Yeah, that's a whole other topic. We could go on that forever.
Hours. Yeah, we're going to need a lot more beer for that
one. Totally.
No, it's tough. I mean, even with human nature, I mean, how open are you with, you know, your career, your life, everything with your fans directly?
You know, I have a love-hate relationship. I can't even say love. I really don't like social media as we're Facebook living.
To be fair, it's your tour manager Trey who's streaming us right now, and not you.
It's Trey. No, but I'm such a private person.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of moments where I'll go out with someone and I'll be like, "Hey, can we leave our phones at home?" Yeah. Like, can we just go out and let's just put our phones on the table and roll out and have a great time together, just me and you. Yeah. And I treasure those moments more than anything. Like, I'll never forget a lot of those nights, you know?
Yeah, because and your mind isn't split by something else. The
memories are here. Yeah. They're ingrained in my mind. I don't need to look at pictures because I'll never forget it. Right. You know, and no one gets to share that moment. It's mine. So it's selfish of me to not share, but at the same time, I'm like, that's my moment.
But isn't it selfish also if you go out with somebody and you bring your phone with you?
That's very true.
And then your attention isn't with them. It's with the rest of the world.
But I have friends who are like, why didn't you snap? I wanted to see your night. It sounded so incredible. What the hell? And I'm just like, well, I don't want to snap.
Maybe I don't want you to see my night.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know. I know how important it is. And I had this thought the other day. I don't know if this was you I was telling. But I said, I'm not sure that if when I was growing up thinking, singing and playing and becoming a producer and all that, if I thought that social media was going to be a requirement to be an artist, I wonder if I would have done it. Because what I want to do is make music so good that I don't have to be on shit.
Yeah.
I don't have to be on anything. Like that's like heaven,
Well, flashback 10 years ago.
But I don't even know if that's possible now. Like, are there people? Is Beyonce on Snap?
I don't think so. I'm not on Snapchat. I refuse to do that one.
She's on Instagram, but Instagram and Snap, I don't mind Instagram. I actually enjoy Instagram because
I like Instagram too.
You get to pick and choose your moments, and like it's quality images and videos, and I love seeing other people's brands and what they're doing. But Snap for me is a bit too invasive.
Yeah.
And I know people who love it, like Diplo's on Snap all day. I enjoy watching Snap sometimes. Dylan Francis Snap is one of the funniest accounts I've ever followed. But like, I don't know if I want somebody seeing my hotel room or like.
I think the thing I have, the biggest issue I have with Snapchat is the amount of narcissism it creates in people. And, people are really snapping the most mundane activities ever just because they're looking for some sort of validation or attention.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, I don't care you're in a hotel room lobby right now. I don't care you're at LAX.
Yeah.
I don't care you're sitting on the toilet right now because people snap that shit too.
Yeah.
And like, if you're gonna,
I agree.
It's too much.
There are very few accounts that truly interest me that I'm like, oh, wow, I really enjoyed seeing that ride. I like to watch Diplo's account because he's such a tastemaker with music.
Sure.
So I hear a lot of records that I'm like, oh my God, what is that?
Yeah.
Like I have to, so I'll be holding the Snapchat up to Shazam.
Yeah,
and being
sure.
like, what song is that? So some of it is just like, I really enjoy it because I'm learning stuff from other DJs. Layback Luke has a video blog series that I love watching. It goes behind the scenes with him and shows a lot about I've learned a lot from him just through the vlog. And I think, there are certain ways that people do it really, really well. And I hope that, one day I could get to a point where I feel like my socials are just done really well.
Yeah.
And what there is to see is the important stuff to see.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. It's tough. I struggle with it because I go through phases, or not even phases. I mean, it's phases of being more of an asshole or less of an asshole. And I'm really trying to embrace being less of an asshole.
Yeah, right. That's not going to work for you.
At least publicly, like behind closed doors.
But that's like the thing with Deadmau5. That's why he works, because he's an asshole. Like, that's why his shit is so funny. When I see his stuff popping up on Twitter, I'm like, oh, let me see what Joel's saying today.
Joel is incredibly intelligent, and people try to take on the bull every time.
Yeah.
And you're going to get the horns if you fuck with the bull. And he is smarter than you.
Yeah.
Like, if you try to insult him, no matter what, he will turn it around and make it better.
Yeah.
But people know that too, so they do it just to fuck with him because if they piss him off the right way, he's going to say something back and then get a shit ton of attention.
Yeah.
I mean, look at fucking Marshmello. Like,
did they get into it?
Oh my God, Mr. fucking S'more has been like, he's been jabbing Joel for like a year. They even put a fake mouse head in one of like the Marshmello videos.
Really?
Yeah, for real.
Oh, wow.
Like, it was very calculated. And, it really got under Joel's skin, of course.
Yeah.
But again, it's piggybacking off of someone else, but in kind of a malicious way. And that's kind of ugly to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool, like, support your friends, do something together, piggyback off each other, awesome. But to go out of your way to attack somebody for your own personal gain, I mean, outside of music, that's very common. And even in music, it's extremely common. I think it's morally corrupt. It can't fly with that.
Electronic music reminds me a lot of the trajectory of hip hop.
Yeah.
When hip hop first started coming up.
Yeah.
And everybody was together in
and
the
then the
beginning.
rivalry split off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so in the beginning, you see all these videos of Missy and Lil Kim and Tupac and Junior and Biggie and
That's right.
Junior Mafia, all those cliques hanging out together. Yeah. And then fast forward a couple years and then there's beef,
Right.
And I feel like that, I mean, it didn't happen to the extent that it happened in hip hop, and nowhere close.
And I mean, they still say a lot of that was manufactured by the record labels to a certain extent to boost record sales, which it was very effective at doing.
But it's not worth 2 lives.
No.
It's not worth losing lives.
Well, ask Aftermath that.
Yeah.
Because Tupac posthumously sold more records than he alive.
Well, that's any artist. Well, most artists.
Yeah.
What was it? Van Gogh? Same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Picasso.
Yep.
I mean, artists in general you don't appreciate it till it's gone.
Isn't that the truth? Mm-hmm. Janet Jackson knew that one.
Hilarious.
I know, right?
All right. What else? Are we good?
I think, yeah.
All right.
I think we're good. Yeah, this was fun.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man. Thanks for being here.
Well, it's always so good to see you. You're one of my favorite people in the world.
One of mine, too.
Yeah.
I don't see you often enough, so I'm glad you were here.
This is true.
Yeah.
All right, boo.
All right, boo.
Over and out.
That was Bright Lights. She's awesome. Check out her new single, $1 Billion Love, out on August 4th on her own label, 333 Recordings. Hope to see some of you guys at my own shows in the next few weeks. And if you're there, come say hi. See ya.